Well, well. It's a beautiful Monday morning, and reality has finally kicked in. And we now live in a world where terrible human beings get fraud checked in the UFC and put out of their misery, you know? And it's fortunate that this title challenger will say, you know, uh, he's such a terrible human being and lost in probably one of the most humiliating ways possible. Never been submitted, now has been submitted. Also, was the only person from his gym that night who lost the fight. Pretty embarrassing, you know? You have to go to the gym the next day knowing you're not a title holder, nor have you been for a year, over a year. And, you're the only one who lost there. Must feel pretty bad. But what I will say is that now that the dust has settled a little bit, it's time to talk about how Israel is actually like a terrible person. And a lot of people, I think, couldn't see that because they saw Israel do, a fucking Hadouken from Dragon Ball, and everyone's like, oh, that's cool, that's funny. He's now fighting to represent anime fans. I'm an anime fan. We don't claim you, you dog toucher. Just saying. Um, but yeah, Israel's genuinely a terrible human being. Sorry, I got a little bit of a fucking stutter apparently. Look, yeah, he's just a terrible person. And in this video, I'm just gonna basically go over a few things on why I think he's a terrible person, human being, whatever you want to call it. If you want to call him that these days. But I do think that Israel needs to retire because I think he's a terrible representation for the sport. Especially now that he's not champion, especially now that he's not getting free layups in his record, which we'll go into. But yeah, that's pretty much the whole reason why I'm making this video. We're gonna go over why he's a terrible person, starting with Dana White. Of course, we gotta go to the white bald man himself. And the reason why I'm going with Dana White to start this off is because this is kind of what kicked off the whole reason why I started hating Israel, to be honest. Does he train hard? Yes. Is he talently gifted? 100%. Not only is he really lengthy for the division, we'll say, but he's also got fast switch muscle. As much as I don't want to admit it, he's still pretty snappy at the ripe age of 35. But this press conference, or after press conference, I guess we'll say, happened just after the incident where Israel, after Dricus du Plessis knocked out Robert Whittaker in an impressive fashion, considering that Robert Whittaker for a decade has only lost to Isreal Adesanya at this point. And Robert Whittaker gets knocked out by Dricus du Plessis. And this is the first time when they were supposed to fight. Just after the knockout, Israel decides to jump the cage before the Strickland fight. Just saying. But Israel jumps the cage, he gets in there, and he literally just sits there and calls Dricus du Plessis the N-word about 50 times. Yes, I counted, obviously. But he just sits in there and he just keeps on calling him a slur for no reason. Now, if you don't know, Dricus du Plessis is in fact white, but the N-word does refer to, let's just say I can't say it. But it has some slavery connotations there as well, and because Dricus is African, I think it's considered a slur towards Dricus du Plessis personally. I also think it's a little awkward when you're representing a organization that you just decide to throw the N-word at someone for 50 times, especially if that someone's white. Little weird, but okay. I guess we let it pass. But this is basically going over that.
Adesanya coming into the cage tonight, Dricus du Plessis, the big win. I guess the decision to bring him in, not something you do all the time.
Well, there was a big debate over it. I didn't want to do it.
Apologize for the background noise. UFC, step up your game. What the fuck is this? We watch this shit for free, and it's barely watchable because you guys keep on having these fucking issues with your camera and microphone and shit. Unacceptable. Anyways.
First of all, what I don't like to do is when you have somebody like du Plessis who just big win for him. You know what I mean? He just beat the second best guy in the world in that division. And then, you know, somebody's going to get in their face and get aggressive with him again after they just got done getting out of a war. But Adesanya and I had a debate over it, and he promised me that nothing crazy would happen. So we did it.
You know, I know you say
Little interesting that Dana White was aware this was going to happen. I don't think he was, you know, predicting the slur onslaught.
hey,
But,
this is the fight business. People say nasty things, right? But the tension between those two and kind of the racial undertones and all those things, how do you...
What were the racial undertones?
Drigger says he's
Racial undertones? What? Israel? Izzy did that?
the real African fighter, and so, you know, Israel dropped some N-words in there tonight.
Israel?
So what was the racial? Who did? Who dropped the racial?
Israel was saying over and over, yeah. Dropping
He's
about
black.
50 N-bombs.
Yeah, he is black, but, you know, don't know if you really want that representing your organization. Just saying. But yeah, this is basically the press conference. It's just the proof in the pudding, you know what I mean? I don't want to show the clip. There's no audio. It'd be a little weird. But you could probably find it somewhere on Twitter. Twitter is a cesspool with that kind of stuff. If not on Twitter, I'm sure someone on YouTube who has, you know, a low amount of subscribers probably has it up there somewhere. But yeah, that's basically the first clip here. We'll move on to the second clip. So, not only does Israel get away with just spamming the N-word at Dricus du Plessis, but then he does a video, I think it was a few months afterwards, where he just literally calls Dricus the white slur, cracker, as they say. Yes, I know, I have the pass for cracker. I know it's not a damning word. Obviously, in seriousness, the N-word is leagues worse than saying, you know, cracker. And, you know, it's not really that comparable. But it is just interesting that you try to... There's not really many slurs you can say towards white people that really offend them, you know? I think maybe redneck, I think hillbilly are probably some of the worst. But cracker feels like the go-to when you just want to, you know, when you want to retaliate with the slur. But, you know, Israel just casually drops it here.
The fuck is this cracker to tell me who the fuck I am, who the fuck Kamaru is, who the fuck Ngannou is?
Never questioned you guys being black. He literally just said that he wants to be the first champion who's African born, trains in Africa, and fights outside of Africa. And he is. I don't think his point is that you guys never trained in Africa, or he has mentioned, like, you guys bringing the belt back to Africa, but I think his point is more or less, you guys train outside of Africa, get the belt, and then, you know, bring it to Africa, African-born champ, whatever. But he not only was born in Africa, not only was raised in Africa, but he grinded in Africa to get that belt. You know, you don't see him training in America. You don't see him training in France, in New Zealand, Israel, in China, Mr. China. Okay. Well, I'm not going that far. But you don't see him training outside of Africa. You only see him training inside Africa. Obviously, fight weeks are a little different. But you know, I believe Israel trains in Australia. Could be wrong currently. Maybe it's New Zealand. I don't give a fuck. Basically, he doesn't train in Africa. That's all his point. But never questioned your ethnicity, you know, obviously in the heritage department. And he's just waffling here because he's triggered and starts crying. We'll get into that.
I'm like, are you dumb? As a product of colonization, you're trying to tell me who the fuck I am. You can take the boy out of Africa, but you can never take the Africa.
The product of colonization. Really? The boy from Africa, or whatever the quote was, basically he just said. A little interesting, I won't lie. You know, bringing in colonization, I don't think Dricus was saying that, considering he's literally born and raised in Africa. It's not like he colonized your country, he just kind of resides there. And some could even say maybe he was even a product from colonization as well, where his people ended up being sent there to Africa. You don't know his backstory. Just saying.
God, the boy. I never ever did that to him. I never discredited him as an African. I just, okay, there you are, cool. You want to make a fight, cool. But the fact that as a fucking cracker to tell me who the fuck I am.
Ooh, fucking cracker, eh? Some harsh words and some big slurs he used in there. I didn't see Dricus use any slurs. He coulda, just saying. I think it would have made it a little bit funnier, just saying. But I didn't see him say any slurs.
Damn.
You know.
To bring color into it for me.
But yeah, that's basically that clip there. Moving on to the next one. Looky here. What do we have on the screen? Isreal Adesanya getting charged with a... Well, I don't think he was charged. Oh, yeah, he was. International star charged with driving a car on that street in Auckland Central with 87 milligrams of alcohol per 100 milliliters of blood. Over the legal limit. Are we drunk driving? Are we, Isreal? I believe this was in the build-up, or it was after. I think this was in the build-up to the Strickland fight. I could be wrong. But it was in that time period. Either just before or just after. Little interesting. Just saying. Might have been like a few months before, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. But, yeah. This guy, drunk driving. Very interesting behavior from a UFC former champion. And I don't know about you guys. Personally, I think drunk driving is genuinely one of the more bad things you can do, we'll say. I think this is worse than like Conor McGregor throwing a dolly at a bus, you know? At the very most, Conor McGregor damaged a few fighters inside that bus, not damaging the intended person. Obviously, Khabib. But drunk driving is you're quite literally inebriated, not being able to focus as is required while driving, and you're putting not only you at risk, but if you were John Jones, pregnant women at risk, but any normal human being. I think drunk driving is just like, I think that should be instant jail time. I think that's on level. Just because you're endangering everyone around you, you're endangering yourself, and you're doing it knowingly because you've had to inebriate yourself. You know you drank a little too much, even if it is the 7 milligrams over, that's still a lot. Realistically, this should be extremely low. It shouldn't even be close to the 80 milligram limit. And it's quite clear that he drunk a little bit and then started driving. I think it's deplorable behavior personally. I think it's truly actually like one of the worst, like I'm serious, terrible thing you should do. Just a little interesting from the former UFC champ. I don't know what it is about certain UFC champs, but they seem to get in the habit of drunk driving or, driving under the influence. And, thank God this wasn't a John Jones situation and Isreal didn't fucking hit a pregnant woman. But it could have happened. Thank God it didn't. Just, wanted to point out the fact that if you want to defend Isreal for being a good person or a good fighter or whatever, just know you are supporting a drunk driver, Just saying. But yeah, moving on to the next clip. Shout out to MMA Fighting for this clip here. But basically, Isreal starts to cry. I'm not going to play the whole clip, but he basically just goes on a baby tantrum and just starts crying towards Dricus du Plessis here.
Don't fucking speak of my story if you don't know my story. I don't care.
Little interesting we're bringing up stories here when you, talk about colonization and certain things. I don't think DDP ever brought that up, but just saying. Moving on.
I'll show you who you are Sunday, so right now, shut the
you're gonna show who you are Sunday. Chicken who taps is all I'm seeing. Isreal. Just saying. This wasn't too damning. Just wanted to showcase a little bit of the, crying behavior. A little bit of a soy boy fucking Isreal. We got here a weak man, emotionally. And, pretty interesting he's crying here, considering I know Sean Strickland's being clowned on for crying in the one podcast. And you can hear his trembling voice and his lip quiver every time he speaks in this clip here. you know, like I said, watch the full 3-minute clip from MMA Fighting. Shout out to him. Please don't copyright strike my video or anything. You know, just saying. But, yeah. Israel, weak man, terrible representation of masculinity. Just saying. We gotta get some Giga Chads like, you know, Neil Duplessis and Dricus Duplessis out there. Just saying. You know, represent the fight game properly rather than crying on mic over stories that you don't even know. Mr. Servants, which, you know, been confirmed that he has servants. I know some people are defending that by saying, oh, well, you don't need to be rich to have servants, you know? In Africa, or whatever part of Africa he was in at the time, I don't think Dricus had servants growing up, and, you know, I think servants are a privilege. I think we can all admit that. And I think not being able to bathe until the age of 8, just saying, because of servants, is a little bit of a, you know, silver spoon in the mouth, we'll say. Just saying. Maybe you disagree. I don't really care, because it's quite obvious if you have servants, it's a clear you have a silver spoon in your mouth. I don't care what country you're from. You know, just saying. I don't remember Dricus growing up with servants. Farm boy laying down the land as far as I remember in that backstory. But, you know, moving on to another clip we got. So now we get into the real stuff. Shout out MMA Guru. Obviously, he's there on the side. I'm just gonna, you know, the video title is Proof of More Dog Fetish Tweets from Adesanya. Go check out his channel. Obviously, he's goated when it comes to MMA content. Easily the best MMA content creator there is right now. But I'm just gonna cover his face. I can't cover his face. You know what? We have the same beard color. It doesn't matter. I'm not even gonna fucking try. It is what it is. You're just gonna have to see his ginger beard, Giga Chad beard, just saying. Anyways, pretty weird stuff from Isreal, and why I think he's a creep. Also, could be a, what are they called? Animal abusers, I think. Yeah, I genuinely think he's an animal abuser. You know, on top of the drunk driving stuff we already got. Pretty, you know, this isn't evidence that he's a animal abuser here, but we'll get into it. Literally, I fucked a werewolf, #werewolf, and I liked it, doggy style, and he's right behind a werewolf. A little cringe, a little, very odd behavior, and I'm not, like, shitting on being cringe. You can be cringe. Nina Drama is, like, the perfect example of being cringe and getting away with it. This is just... this is like, if I saw anyone post this, if I saw my best friend post this, I'm immediately, like, talking to him over Discord and figuring out what's going on mentally. Because he clearly has, like, a malfunction going on in his brain. I don't know why you would ever post this. Very weird shit. But yeah, moving on to 9-10, which is just a really weird dog video that MMA Guru explains probably better than I ever could. You know, just getting into it right here.
I'm not even going to play it for you guys because it is just rank that he does this. It is just rank. You know what I'm saying? But look at the hashtags on this. Every time I see someone...
Basically, it's a video. He's just, like, fucking with his dog with his foot. It's really weird. But yeah, Guru explains it here.
Mouth kissing my dog Millie. I giggle on the inside. Foot game clean. Foot fetish. No peanut butter. No peanut butter left after you've hit the stores. You know what I'm saying?
It's just... I don't know why you're tagging, you know, foot fetish, kissing your mouth, or kissing your dog on the mouth. Very weird shit, you know. And if history has showed us anything from creepy shit like this, there's certain people, certain millionaires who end up being creeps, and typically it starts with like some weird video of them kissing, their daughter on the mouth or something. Randy Pitchford, good example of having, some child related stuff on his hard drive, and he always has weird interactions with children, literal children, underage people. Even if they're upwards to 16, that's still a child legally, at least where Randy Pitchford's from. During certain sets, like the Borderlands movie, if you haven't heard, pretty shit movie. And the 16-year-old in it does a lot of weird stuff, and Randy Pitchford did his little breakdown of the video, very weird shit. And he just conveniently has a USB drive of child porn, just saying. Yeah, stuff like that should be condemned. And this, I think, is just like, I think it goes in the evidence category of maybe abusing animals. The no peanut butter comments, obviously he's got a shot of his groin area there towards his dog. Look at that poor fucking puppy, that guy literally, the dog literally looks like he's fucking about to take himself out, you know what I mean? Just weird stuff. I'd put this in the evidence jar for whenever a case comes out that, you see a beaten dog outside of Israel's place. But moving on to the next clip at 10:48. And it is a video of, it's only 4 seconds. But, yeah. Obviously can't play the video, can't play the audio. Guru doesn't have the audio, but I'll just basically talk about it here. It's just Israel running at a dog saying it's Willy time. Just weird shit. Like, why? Why are you chasing your dog with threats that you're gonna fuck it? It's, very weird shit, to be honest with you. And I'm not saying all of these mean he's a animal abuser, but what I am saying is that there's a lot of points on this graph, and as a wise Asmongold once said, when you have 2 points on a graph, that makes a line. Moving on to the final clip we have from the Guru. At 15:10. Like I said, check out this video. This video goes super in depth with all these things. He even, I think, has a part 2. As you can see here, this is a really weird Twitter post. This was back when it was Twitter, I believe. Basically, this is evidence that Isreal Adesanya is following a Twitter channel exclusively for dog fetishes, where women are doing acts with dog-related things, like toys, like the fucking bowl here, acting like dogs, weird shit. And it's an infected today's society, and we need to start, bringing masculinity back so these weak fucks don't walk around with dog bowls everywhere they need a sip of water. Anyways, a little bit of a different topic for a different time. But yeah, this is just evidence that he's following a dog fetish channel. And now, I know you might want to defend Isreal after his drunk driving. Little fun fact about his drunk driving as well. So in the build-up, he was facing the allegations and everything about his drunk driving. And then in the press conference with Sean Strickland, he mentions the fact that Sean Strickland is, I think partnered with Monster, or he just drinks a lot of Monster, either or, can't remember. But basically, he was saying you sold his soul to Monster, whatever the case may be. But, I would never, ever do anything of that nature. I would never sell my soul to something as delicious as Monster. Oh, fuck, that's good. Anyways, I would never do that. But Strickland may have a partner deal with Monster, but at least he wasn't going around drunk driving. If anyone was gonna get a case for drunk driving, you would expect it to be a man like Strickland, not the doggy diddler, but just saying. A little bit of an interesting fact. So maybe you want to defend Isreal after diddling dogs. Literally, he's been on video. I don't have it here. Obviously, I can't show the video of him literally jerking off a dog. But he jerked off his dog, I believe. I hope it's it. Actually, I hope it was a fake dog, if anything. But he's jerked off a dog before on camera. He's mouth kissing dogs a lot on video. He's posting weird videos of him running at animals and saying he wants to fuck them. He's following dog fetish channels, or, you know, I guess profiles. I don't know what you call it on Twitter. Where they just do dog fetish shit. Women just doing random doggy related things. And he's a drunk driver. And he just race baits everyone by just whipping out the cracker card and saying the N-word towards white people for no reason. A white African, mind you, the true African, as we found out on Saturday. So maybe you want to defend him after all that, but I feel like it's pretty indefensible that Isreal is even in the UFC for the amount of shit that he causes, you know, representing drunk driving, representing these dog fetish shits, you know, the furries in the world. He's part of them. I feel like, you know, bad representation for the UFC, my personal opinion. I think we need to lean outside of that, and we just need to start getting these giga chads like Dricus du Plessis, even a Sean Strickland. At least Sean Strickland speaks his mind, you know, his honest opinion. Not saying believe everything a UFC fighter says or believes, but I just think he's a bad representation for, I guess, men as a whole. Because, you know, I don't want a hard-working man champion while he's diddling dogs, drunk driving, and just calling other people slurs. Personally, I just think it's a terrible representation, you know? I may not be the same skin tone, I may not be from the same area, I may not be, at this point, I may not even be the same gender as that thing, alright? But what I will say is that I've worked hard on things before in life, and Isreal works hard on things relating to UFC champion. I don't doubt that he works very hard. You know, he definitely trains. He is very talented with his fast twitch and lengthy sort of physique. But, you know, to have a representation of someone who works hard, also do all these things, I think is pretty damning. And in my personal opinion, that's just why I think he's a terrible person, and he needs to stop being taken as like, oh man, sucks that Isreal isn't at the top anymore. Why? He's a drunk driver. He's a doggy diddler, and you know, he just calls people slurs. Like, why? If anything, we should be thankful that we can move on to a new era of literally just giga chads being champ, you know? And I know there's a few champions that have problems, not just Isreal, and it might seem like I'm picking on Isreal here. I am. But yeah, I just think Isreal's a shit person, terrible human being, you know, horrible person in general to be around. Or I guess not be around, just in general, just from everything I've seen. But yeah, pretty much all I wanted to say. If you made it to the end, I appreciate it. Shout out to MMA Guru, shout out to MMA Fighting, whatever that other channel I was at looking, you know, or whatever I was looking at. And the news thing, I think it was RNG or RNC, something like that. If you don't believe them, I don't care. It's well known that he was charged for drinking and driving. That's a spider right there. Jesus Christ. Anyways, yeah, if you made it to the end, just want to thank you for watching. And like always, I hope you have a great day.